Welcome back from the break. This is KTN Life and Style Inspiration Monday. This is Perspectives. Before the break, we were talking about tech innovation, and we are joined by two amazing guests. Maybe you can introduce yourself.
Hi, my name is David Kenya. I'm an independent technical consultant. I work with startups and I work on business models, and that's what excites me.
I am Somet Kipchilat. I am a startup and partner development manager at Microsoft. So I essentially take care of Microsoft's startup ecosystem across East Africa.
Okay, so we're talking about tech innovation. Where do you feel we are as a country? Are we there yet? Because there's so many things that people are not aware of when it comes to technology, and most people just assume you have to be like this IT guru to understand such things.
I think where we are in Kenya today is we're at a place where there's a lot of digital transformation. People are adopting technology really. In fact, if you look across East Africa, I think Kenya is one of the countries that picks up technology really, really fast. And so to the point where you look at, there's, if I remember correctly, about $1.16 billion of equity investments in Kenya. That is about 108% year-on-year growth in terms of investment into startups in Kenya. So I think we're in a good path from a technology perspective, but we're not there. There are definitely some challenges and some gaps in the ecosystem.
My take on this is that the drive towards innovation is problems.
Yes.
Problem is the best way to think about how do we solve our current problems. At the same time, we tend to be heavy on fintech or financial. You know, we've not gone over the M-Pesa hangover since 2007. And what you see is that over and over again, you find spaces where people are just talking about financial solutions. Are we talking about micro lending? Are we talking about all these different things? But we seem to be, there could be innovation, but it's leaning more towards financial services.
Yes.
Whereas the actual challenges that are facing us are, for example, housing. For example, we're having challenges as far as agriculture is concerned. There are amazing tech solutions. Recently, I read about a case study about air quality, where they found that in areas like Mulolongo and an industrial area, there was almost 500% allowable decline in air quality, and all this happening through sensors. So there are other issues that we need to solve. There are other problems we need to be attacking. But right now, I think we are a bit too focused on the financial side.
And that's why you're saying people are stuck or still stuck on M-Pesa, yet there are many other even apps when it comes to money transfer. Why is it you think people are just, is it that we don't trust new things, or we're just hooked onto what we know and we're not just open for anything that's new?
Let's be honest, it's the power of marketing. I think Safaricom has almost sizable amounts, and they make sure that you don't forget that they are the leaders or the drivers behind M-Pesa. So there's quite a bit of sound that they're able to generate in any given time. Secondly, if you're depending purely on the way airwaves or on the traditional channels of knowing what's out there, there's always going to be a limited amount of information going out there. And that's why there's spaces like iHub and the rest of the organizations where you can actually go and find out. Perfect, yes.
What do you think, like, and okay, why do you think people are investing in Kenya? I know we're ranked amongst the second when it comes to Africa in technology. So why is it, what is special in Kenya that we are not aware of?
From my perspective, I believe it's a huge talent pool. So if you look at some of the big companies, a good example is Microsoft has invested in the development center in Kenya. This is 1 out of the 7 that we have. And essentially the idea that talent, the likes of Vandela and Microsoft, that talent is available and is distributed everywhere. So I guess there is a very strong pool of talent. And so then these companies are looking at how do we expand into different markets. I think there is a sentiment across that Africa is the next frontier. That is where all the big companies are going to invest. So I believe there is an interesting focus on Africa in general, not necessarily just Kenya.
And do you think, like, when it comes to technology, everything of course now is becoming much more easier for people, especially with these apps, but do you think that it's phasing out other businesses? Like especially businesses that you need to go physically, so now everyone is doing everything online now and not walking to a shop and getting something. Do you think it's phasing out some businesses and also people losing opportunities?
to be honest, those businesses need to be phased out. The old way of doing business, at some point, you've got to admit that things cannot work the same way they've always worked.
Yeah, but what about now? That now creates it doesn't create job opportunity. It creates job opportunities for some, but then others also losing out.
That's exactly what's going to happen. And when we see more technologies coming in, like artificial intelligence, a good number, think about it, majority of the job titles that we have right now, Microsoft didn't have a startup development manager 5 years ago, right? So there are titles that are coming up now.
Social media manager,
before. You know, titles that we've never seen before, which basically tells me that 5-10 years from now, most of what we call the job titles
will not
and the problems that we think we are addressing right now will be everyday issues. So disruption must happen. The only challenge is that the organizations or the companies that are controlling the money, the authority, and the need are so stuck in profitable ways of doing business that they don't see the need to change. So if it happens that they will be disrupted and they have to think twice about how they work their business, so be it, and it's part of the evolution process. That must happen, and that should happen.
Is it for a certain niche? Because there are people who also don't have computers and smartphones. They're just stuck on their kabambes, and that's why the only thing they can access is actually M-Pesa. So do you think it's just for a certain niche?
No, I think so with the advent of artificial intelligence and the likes of that technology, yes, there are some jobs that are going away, the repetitive jobs. But if you actually look at it, there are way more industries being created. Like, whoever said that roles like data science would exist? So essentially, technology levels a playing field. That means it doesn't matter what area of study you are in, whether you studied history or biology, then that means you can then be included in technology. So there is a huge push to sort of up the skill level in the country, because I believe that is a gap. So it's not that there is a lack of opportunity, but the skill sets are so low that people are looking at it as people are not essentially upping their skill so that they are able to take up such opportunities.
So should it like start educational wise from like primary? But then we have like things like the government, promised computers to these guys who are having free education, because it's not everyone who can afford a computer, to be honest. Some come across computers when they're way older, like in college for some. So is it something that should start from like in primary, something that they should introduce, the way you learn history, the way you learn math? So there should be like IT or something like that, technology-wise.
I almost think it's a good thing that computer program did not take off.
How come?
Because then what will happen is that you'd have people going through the education system in a singular way of thinking as far as technology is concerned. Right? Because then if you're rolling out 1 million laptops, you have to think about the software, you have to think about the hardware. They're not going to go for the high-end software that they're going to find in the everyday workplace. And let's be honest, when it comes to school and curriculum, the most important thing they need to learn is logic and analytics. So you have to train the mind to think in those dimensions. So that way they operate irrespective of what technology you put in front of them. So you mentioned earlier on about the quality of the phone. Feature phones are a great entry place for somebody to start interacting with technology. So it has all the features or not, that is great, because sooner or later they'll have to switch and get a medium range smartphone that they can run with. Then they switch to a higher end smartphone. But all the while, at least they got in the first place. They wouldn't have to leave a particular place where they live and find that they have a high end smartphone. So it's, to put it mildly, feature phone is a gateway drug to what the beauty of technology has to hold for them.
But shouldn't the logic start when they're younger? Because you are learning that, yes, but then what about learning about all this apps and technology-wise, basically? Why have it when you're like after uni? And that's why most people now will still not know about certain apps that exist, because they don't know how to access a computer.
I think fundamentally we need to go back and rethink our education system. There's a lot of work that needs to be done in the curriculum, but I think one of the key things is looking at how do you create a growth mindset in people from a very young age. So if you look at a lot of our education system, it's the idea of you cram as much as you can in your head and regurgitate that on paper. But what if I'm trained to actually have a growth mindset, to constantly learn and to constantly question things? I think that shift in the mindset then is very key to as I go through an education system, as I grow, I become more curious. Need to get to a point where we stop being Mr. Know-it-all to Mr. Learn-it-all. Because technology is changing way too fast. We need to stick there.
And did you know artificial intelligence is nothing but matrix mathematics, which we do in fourth form? In third form, fourth form, we do matrix mathematics, and that's the basis
that you need.
To understand artificial intelligence, right? Because what happens is that before you have to train a machine on how to interpret data. In artificial intelligence, you take the data and it works backwards, and all that it's doing is just look at the different relationships. So, one, I think STEM education is imperative, and the best possible group that can gain from STEM is girls. Right? Because then what happens is that from a very early age, you demystify mathematics, you demystify science. And the moment they learn that there's an approach towards, again, logic-based, so whether you have to do games, whether you have to do chess, or whatever sport it is that you and relate, that whatever you're learning in class right now is something that you will need down the line, probably whichever direction you go to, whether they're going to go engineering, or whether they go to mechatronics, or whether they're going to machine learning. If they're able to relate subjects directly from a particular topic to what they may end up using it, the kids get more engaged and they can get into it in a way that we've not seen before.
But doesn't it, like you've mentioned games, that doesn't it like get addictive for some kids, as opposed to learning how to socialize and all? Now they're fixed on that, because now they don't even buy PlayStations because now the online data has made it easier for them to just go online and just play games.
The issue there is not the children, it's the parents.
It's the parents.
It's the parents, and we've seen this over and over again. As you travel, you find a parent does not want to be disturbed by their child, so what they do, they whip out their cell phone and give it their child. So basically what they're doing, they're trading the phone with their child for their own peace of mind. And at that point, it's unfortunate that we blame the children. And in actual fact, the person who should be engaging is the parent.
But isn't that where we're heading now?
Oh, we're already there. We are absolutely already there, right? And the effects of screen time on eyes, on visual quality, that is already going on. But the whole idea is find out, how do you switch that? How do you switch that in such a way? For example, I have a son, and I've told him, beyond a particular point, you can't play games unless you're the one who designs them yourself.
Wow.
Right? So for me, I put the target out there.
So he has to go learn.
He has to learn how to program. He has to learn Python. He has to learn all the different things. Right? So that way you end up switching it. Let's not forget that gaming is a huge industry.
It is, and we have like people who are very addicted and they don't even leave the house, and we have like grown-ups who are addicted and are not working and they're just on the games thing and even betting.
I think on the positive side, so when you talk about the gaming industry, there is the incentivized gaming, which is the betting industry, and that not necessarily the best. But if you look at now the other consumer gaming, the likes of the PlayStation and the Xbox, I think if you actually look at it on the positive side, it actually helps younger children develop their cognitive abilities. And sort of that's a positive side that no one ever shows you. So I guess gaming in itself is a big industry, and that's, I think, an industry that we've always ignored. Yet there are a lot of job opportunities that can be created. So if you look at people who play in the arts industry, who studied design, sound engineering, that's an opportunity for them to create completely new jobs that exist. So I guess we need to move away from waiting for people to create jobs for us to us actually creating those jobs.
So in terms of job opportunities, the tech world has, because I would imagine a job that could be done by 5 people is done by 1 person when it comes to technology.
Yes, but at the
so
same,
then we have now like the 4 who will be out there stuck.
There are global discussions.
There
are global discussions because there's also underemployment. The people who are doing the right thing, right? But they don't expend themselves. So you have a job, but you're not growing. And I know there are plenty of people and listeners who can identify with that. So, and one of the best things that could ever happen in some instances is for you to realize that job does not work for you. There are many people who are in dead-end jobs. And until they realize that they either need to retool and they either need to retrain and so on. On the issue, going back to gaming, think about it, of the opportunities that are there. How do you train law enforcement to enter combat situations without having put them in war first.
Yeah.
We can actually take them through a game simulator so that we can start training their motor skills, their awareness skills. So there's a flip side to gaming in that, yes, we could think about the gaming, but we also can flight simulators. How do you train pilots? How do we train how do we train firefighters? Right? So that they start having an awareness of what reality looks like once they get on the job, so that the first time they encounter fire is not when they're actually on location.
Yeah. So do you like necessarily need IT knowledge to do all this? How easy is it to sit down, start an app?
So I don't think it fundamentally has to be an app. I think there's a lot of people.
Yeah, not necessarily an app, but just
so
technically speaking.
there is a lot of people and a lot of platforms that allows people to actually go and learn all these things. I think I can probably list 9 or 10 different websites where you can actually go learn for free. So I think
so it's not that difficult for someone to actually learn.
Yeah, I guess it goes back to the mindset of, do I want to take the initiative to actually go out there and learn, or am I waiting for somebody to say, hey, go sit in this class and actually learn this? I think for me, one of the things that I've spent a lot of time is constantly learning different things. I think going back to your question around job opportunities, so there is still a need for a lot of people to skill up. Again, the repetitive jobs will go away if you don't skill up. Another piece or sort of place that I think people completely have ignored is people with accessibility issues. So if you look at people who are in the ALS spectrum, some of them are very good when it comes to attention to detail. These are sort of people who are the best to hire as data scientists. But a lot of people do not consider people with disabilities simply because they assume, oh, they probably can't do this job. But actually they do have the innate skills to do this. So I think there also has to be that conversation around how do we make sure that we're inclusive of everybody across, whether you're of different ability or a different group of people.
And again, accessibility is big. Accessibility is unbelievable. Think about it. If you're to be blindfolded and dropped right now here and asked to go to your car,
that would be a problem.
Right? You will not be able to do that. Right? And yet we expect people who are visually impaired to carry on with normal lives. So how do we enable that to happen? One of the best things to do that is technology, because then the other senses sharpen as and when one of them is not available. So how do we start using technology to take care of these people? The other thing is software testing. There's, even with some jobs going, as we develop the discipline of software development and application testing, is it possible to deploy the use of people who, are, for example, have one disability or the other, but have the other senses going on? So yes, and don't forget, this has always happened. We used to have horses, we used to have most of our parents and grandparents were agrarian. Now they're no longer farming, so those jobs are gone and have been taken up by different people. So I think at the end of the day, we still have to think about jobs leaving, but others being created and more opportunities coming and other opportunities leaving. That's just the way.
I'm thinking about the people, like let's say in Shags, for instance, if now we phase out newspapers because everyone is going digital and they're reading online, what happens to that group of people who cannot get the newspaper online?
Upcountry has some of the brightest minds available. And the reason is, as you wake up in the morning, you're not just thinking about overcoming one challenge. You're overcoming multiple challenges. And that's a fundamental thing you need to be excellent in technology. A problem-solving mind. There's actually a different thing coming up. There's problem-solving, but there's also problem-seeking. We're not just reacting to the problems that you're facing, you're also looking for problems that you may address. Whether it's fire, whether it's not fire, whether it's getting electricity, or how you study. And once you deploy these minds, you will be amazed that once you introduce them to new concepts, they're able to run with them in an exciting and unbelievable way.
Years to come, let's say like 5 years now, where do you think we'll be as a country when it comes to tech innovation?
So I think there is a huge boom to tech innovation. I think we are already today producing some of the best innovations across the ecosystem. If you look at the likes of M-Copa, who are bringing electricity back to the places with no electricity. So I believe we're in the right path. I think there's still a lot of work that needs to be done from, I'll give a good example, from a regulatory perspective. So how do we make sure that we don't get to a point where our regulations are the ones stifling technology? So I think we're down the right path, and I believe we'll be in quite an interesting place.
But we won't be at a place where we have the cars running without fuel. Sort of thing.
That has to happen sooner or later. Everything rises and falls on leadership.
Yeah. And do you think how people will receive that? Because I know they're out there already, but then would you buy a car that you have to charge?
Oh, that is happening.
It is, but here in Kenya, will people accept it?
You will be amazed at how open we are.
Yeah.
Because once you realize that think about automatic versus stick shift cars.
Yes. Oh, yeah. And
right?
automatic is the easiest thing ever.
There was a whole debate that Kenyans will never accept automatic driven cars. Right now,
even in driving school now, you get to pick. The price is different.
Correct.
You want to learn manual or automatic.
So right in there is your answer, right? That
True.
we will adapt.
Yeah.
If we don't adapt on our own will, we will be forced to adapt, because then we are not a producer of cars.
Yeah.
We are a net importer of vehicles or modes of transport. So that is going to happen whether we are ready or not.
Yeah. So to like 2030, where do you think we'll be?
2030, it'll be a different place altogether. There's actually a debate going on around the world about what do you call it, a baseline income, because technology is going to change so many things that a government will have to think about how do we make sure that everybody has a baseline income.
Yeah.
Because then artificial intelligence in health has been amazing for radiotherapy and understanding images, diseases, diagnosis. I mean, models are doing better than the top-rated doctors, right? So then what do you do with the whole staff below that? So you have to think about how do we equalize income, but then also make sure that people are living better qualities of life. That will be the main debate, not the technology itself, but it is bound to happen.
Yeah. And do you think people know what it's worth? Because we have people who create like a certain app, then they sell it for little money, and then people run with it. We've had very many cases of that. Run with it, and then you're left behind. You were paid like very little money, and that's it. And then they're making money out of it.
I think that boils down back to a growth mindset. So a lot of people get in those situations because they don't take the time to actually understand, hey, if I'm actually going to get somebody to invest in my business, what does that exactly mean? And there's a lot of information. You'll hear people talk about the University of YouTube. There's a lot you can learn online when it comes to investing. So I think there needs to be that change of mindset. There needs to be people who can actually go and skill themselves up on what does it mean to have somebody come and join my business. Am I selling away 50% of my equity? Do we actually go and go through the contracts that we get, or do we assume? So I always say, this might sound bad, but never underestimate human ingenuity, but also human stupidity. So human beings tend to sometimes, if something doesn't feel that important to you, I'm like, I won't take time to actually go look at it.
So you came up with it, you're like, whatever, it didn't take me much time anyways, and then someone else runs with the idea.
And there's this whole idea of get rich quick. So somebody's looking at how do I make money real fast? And unfortunately, people will take advantage. It's human nature. And so you have to be really careful about how you engage, especially like if you're getting investors into your company. There are people who do amazing jobs at teaching people how businesses run. A good example is a gentleman out of South Africa called Vusi Thembekwai. He does a number of sessions around that. So I guess it's a mindset issue.
I think one of the things that anybody doing anything has to understand or has to settle, the question you have to settle is, what am I really worth? And what is my motivation? There are people who will never sell their businesses no matter who comes knocking down the door. Because they realize that they're just getting started, and the attention that they're getting is not it. They are not willing to trade that idea for anything because there's something bigger coming out of it. But there are other people who, what do we used to call them? Venturepreneurs. Right now,
pitch entrepreneurs.
The moment a VC shows up and offers you money, you drop everything, and you move on to the next thing. So once the motivation question is answered, and how passionate you are about what it is you're doing, then actually let's look at it this way. People who sell off and run off are people who are not in it for the long haul.
Yeah.
So you might as well just, that's some kind of pruning.
Yeah.
There's
So
a good
let it be.
example to that. So if you read a book called Start With Why by Simon Sinek, he talks about three things: the why you do something, the how you do it, and what you do. So a lot of people concentrate on what they do and how they do it, completely forgetting on how you do it.
How you do
Yeah,
it.
that's true. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you, guys. Maybe you could just give a word of advice for someone out there who's, especially the youth, who want to start and are interested in technology but just don't know where to begin. What would you tell them?
You wanna go first?
I'd say, what is the one thing that annoys you the most? What is the one thing that troubles you so much?
Yeah.
Because we all have that one thing that we can never let go.
Yeah.
In it lies the opportunity. It doesn't have to be a technology solution.
Yeah.
Technology could be an enabler. It's not necessarily an app, right?
Yeah.
But think about, what is it that annoys you the most? What gives you, what burns your heart?
Yeah.
What really makes your blood curl? And in it, as you ask yourself strong questions and keep thinking about it, therein lies your opportunity.
Okay.
I think I'll echo what he said. I think we get so caught up in technology. I always tell people technology should be the last thing you think about. So look at, what is the problem that I'm trying to solve, problem solvers. And if you find an answer, look at how do I leverage on technology to actually solve that problem, and not necessarily start with the technology piece, then solve the problem. So I guess that's the advice I'd give out. And go out there and learn.
None. Okay. Thank
Stay
you,
hungry.
guys.
Yeah.
People want to reach you, where can they find you?
I'm available at the iHub. I really don't want to say Instagram, because for me, yeah, Instagram, yeah.
Why?
I'm not much on social media.
Yeah, yeah.
Unfortunately, the real world exists outside social media.
Yeah.
That's where real solutions are happening.
Yeah.
So I'm available at the iHub. I love startups. I love asking good questions about startups.
Yeah.
And the other part is, I want to help where I can. So I'm
So the
available at the
opportunity
iHub.
is there.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. Or ask yourself questions. This is the idea. How do I make money?
Out of
You
it, yeah.
will be amazed how many people have not answered that question.
Yeah.
So I'm at the iHub, and I'm available for consultation.
I think I point people to my LinkedIn. That's the easiest way to get to me. But also I spend a lot of time with different startups all over the place. So the iHub, NILAB, and a bunch of the different hubs, you probably find me there. So I'm available on all social platforms.
Even me. But
But you're just not into.
I don't think, yeah. I think real change happens face to face.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
Not
social
in,
media is big.
not in the, oh, it's big.
It's big. It's
But
big.
it's a quasi world. It's a semi-fictional world.
Yeah,
That
but it's just like gaming. But anyways, it's like gaming.
To be continued,
Yeah, but
yeah.
to be continued. Thank
Yeah.
you so much, guys. I hope you guys at home have gotten a lot of insight from this. Remember, the hashtag is KTN Life and Style. And do not go anywhere. Do not touch that dial, because after the break, we have Catherine Mwangi.